Hey y'all, my name is Susan Sparks and I'm the senior pastor here at Madison Avenue Baptist Church in New York City. We are a diverse community brought together by faith. We hope that you enjoy our service today.
Good morning, this is Karen, your Manhattan Mezzo, once again, with a piece by Charles Gounod. It's a setting he created in 1884 called The King of Love, My Shepherd Is. As you may recall, he was a famous opera composer, and as an opera person myself, I will mention that he's best known for his setting of the story of Faust, reflecting the very unhappy end that comes to someone who does a deal with the devil. In this piece, you can easily hear reflected Gounod's deep belief that if we place our trust in God, he can get us through any adversity. I hope you enjoy.
Hi friends, my name is Amy Andrews and I am pastor of Cedar Bridge Baptist Church here in Greenville, North Carolina. I am so excited to be with you this morning, bringing you greetings from Greenville. We are the home of Eastern North Carolina barbecue and 4 beautiful seasons of the weather. Sometimes we even have them all in one day. I'm really happy to be here. To get us started this morning, I'm going to ask a question. How are you doing? How are you doing really? You know, I feel like we've asked ourselves that question a lot lately, especially over the last year and a half in pandemic life. We've asked ourselves, how are you doing? Things have been kind of rough. People have been hurt. COVID just won't go away. Everything seems to take more energy and mental bandwidth than we have ever needed before. So, how are you doing? Can we ask each other that question and just wait for the answer? Better yet, can we ask ourselves that question and be willing to sit with whatever rises to the surface? You heard our passage from today, read earlier, from John chapter 5. And this is the story of Jesus healing a lame man who was sitting by the pool in Bethsaida. And this story raises several interesting questions for us today. So I'm going to bring up a few things for us to think about. What does it mean to be well? What does it mean to be well? In this story, we find Jesus near Jerusalem, and he's sitting near the Sheep's Gate at the pool there. He finds this man sitting there. Jesus walks up to him. It's almost, I get this vision of an outdoor nursing home. There's a pool. People are sitting all around the pool and waiting for the waters to be stirred up. There was a tradition, a belief that an angel would stir the waters periodically. And if you were the first person to get in the pool, then you were healed. So all these sick people are sitting around, and Jesus walks in and sees this scenario. Jesus comes in and finds this man sitting by the pool. He'd been sick for 38 years. No introductions, no small talk, no sermon. Jesus just asked him a question. Do you want to be well? Do you want to be well? Now, is it just me, or does this seem like a little bit of an uncomfortable question? The sassy pants part of me would have wanted to say something sarcastic, like, I've been sitting here for 38 years. What do you think? Or maybe I would respond better to a softer, what's the matter? What's going on? What do you need? Do you want to be made well? Do you want to be well? That sort of implies, why aren't you better already? Like you actually don't want to get better? Sort of implies that you may be somehow benefiting from being sick or taking advantage of the system. Now, I'll take an aside just to be very clear. Jesus is not blaming the sick man for being sick at all. The Gospels are clear. Jesus is always moving toward the sick, moving toward the oppressed, moving toward the broken. Not once does Jesus respond to a sick or ill person with condescension or with a condescending attitude or with mocking at all. Jesus is always moving toward the hurting. So the answer is not that Jesus is just changing his tune and saying, get over it, sick man. Jesus sees past this man's outer illnesses, I believe, to what may be his real issue. See, Jesus sees someone who is not only not well physically, but Jesus sees this man's desperation, this man's probable despair, this man's hopelessness. Sitting by this pool day after day, 38 years, soiling your clothing because you can't clean yourself, eating the crumbs and the handouts that people give you, but never really being refreshed or rejuvenated for 38 years. This is a long time to be sick, a very long time to be sick. And I can only imagine that this man is probably feeling pretty hopeless, that he would be tired of being sick, that he would be frustrated, that he may feel like giving up or resigning to the thought that things are never going to be different for my life. I'm just going to have to live like this. And it's interesting that this man's answer to Jesus's question, after 38 years of being sick, after watching other people get better right in front of his eyes, when Jesus asked him, do you want to be well? He doesn't scream out, yes, of course I do. Of course I do. He gets a little defensive. He says, no one's here to put me in the pool. That's why I'm not better. No one's here to take me there. This outside nursing home is understaffed and the nurses like that lady over there better, so they're always trying to get her in the pool first. People jump in front of me when I try to crawl to the edge and they step on my fingers. It's a cutthroat place we live in, and everybody's looking out for number one. That's why I'm not better. No one's concerned about me. This man makes excuses, maybe gets a little pity for a situation, but he never answers Jesus' question, do you want to be well? To this man, Jesus is essentially saying, what do you really want? Do you have any hope left that things can be different? Do you even think that things can change for you? Have you ever been in this place? This place of problems and pains and issues that you feel like you can never get rid of? Have you been where the system seems to work for everyone else, but it is not working for you? It's not helping you, and you're starting to lose hope that things could ever be any different. Have you ever been in this place where your wounds and your hurts have just stolen your hope that life could change? Maybe this just stings me, but sometimes I think we fear the unknown cure almost more than we fear the illness that we know and live with. The cure sounds good, but what if it's too hard? And what if I can't do all the things? And what if? And we fall back to the familiar because it's comfortable, even if it's not healthy. We sometimes say, I want to change this, or I want to change that. But the familiar, though sometimes it's not healthy, is still what we know, and what we know is comfortable. We sometimes cling to the comfort in the pain just because that's the way it's always been, and we know how to function that way. We sometimes cling to the victim mentality and think that everyone else has this magic pill that somehow I just can't get my hands on. And it would be so much easier because it's easier for everyone else because they have this pill that I can take that just makes it happen quickly. It's easy to sink into self-pity, especially times like now when COVID just won't go away, when we can't do the things that we love to do with the people that we love to do them with. And when our nation seems set on being a dumpster fire, it's easy to get discouraged and to lose hope. This story tells us several things. And here's the first one. Jesus wants us whole and well, even if we aren't sure that we want it ourselves. Jesus wants us each whole and well, even if we're not completely sure that we can go for that right now. When Jesus looked at this man, he saw through him to the very core of what was wrong. This man didn't ask to be healed. He didn't say, Rabbi, help me, heal me. But Jesus wanted this man healed and whole. Jesus wanted him made well. Jesus wants us made well. Walking, living, thriving. He wants to deliver us from the baggage of our past or pain or illnesses or fear or laziness. He wants us whole and well. He wants me to want his very best for my life and to want it greatly. To be whole, to be full, to be healed, to be well. Jesus is in the business of making all things new, and that includes us. Jesus' desire for me to be whole and well really doesn't depend completely on me. This man never asked to be healed, and we really don't have any evidence that this man knew who Jesus was to begin with. Jesus wants us free from our pain and walking healthy and whole, because Jesus wants us to be the full and glorious creations of God that we are designed to be. Jesus thinks we are all worthy of love, belonging, wholeness. Jesus wants us whole and well. Jesus' heart's desire is for us to thrive. This story also tells us that healing and wholeness takes work. Jesus wants us there, but it takes work. Jesus said to this man, "Get up, take up your mat, and walk." I can only imagine the thoughts running through this man's mind. I've been sitting here for 38 years. The water isn't even stirred up like it's supposed to be. Don't you know that's how this works? I haven't walked in 38 years, and you're telling me just to pick up my mat and do it? I've watched friends and family, church members in rehab from a physical illness or an accident or an addiction. And that is hard work. It takes everything within you to learn to tie your shoes again, to be able to brush your own teeth, button your own shirts, to be able to do these simple things that you used to do so easily. It is hard work to be whole and well. I'm not talking only about physical wellness either. This includes emotional wellness, mental wellness. I have a t-shirt that says, "It's okay to have Jesus and a therapist too." And there's no truer statement for my life, to be quite honest. If you've ever worked through hard issues, trauma, or abuse with a therapist, you know that's hard work. It's not only mentally difficult and taxing and draining, but you find yourself physically drained. To dig, to think, to be vulnerable is hard and heavy and often a very lengthy process. Never happens as fast as we want it to. There are no shortcuts. Now, I'm a big backpacker. Love to backpack. My husband and I went backpacking on our honeymoon, if you can believe it or not. We take students and adults on backpacking trips and have done so for 20 plus years. That backpacking trip that we take people on is a trip that teaches a lot. It teaches personal responsibility, and it teaches that we are interdependent. We need each other. We rely on each other as a group. It teaches managing yourself and being responsible. And it is a challenging physical experience to hike 20 plus miles with everything that you need for 4 to 5 days in a bag on your back. We have a saying that always makes its way around the backpacking trip at some point or another, and that's this: the only way to get to the end is to keep walking. The only way to get to the end is to keep walking. The work of physical or emotional or mental healing is work. It's hard work. It's all consuming. And it feels sometimes like it will never end. But the only way to get to the end, to get to the wholeness, is to keep walking, to keep doing the hard work, to get up, to take your mat, and to walk. 38 years for this man of gunk and grime on that mat. 38 years of struggle, of hopelessness, of despair. I'm sure it took work for that man to learn to trust his legs again, to learn to walk, to clean himself up and clean his mat and get up and live the life of a healed and whole person. I'm sure it took work. To have conversations as a whole person, to interact with others as a well person, not a sick person. This man re-entered community in a different way after he was healed. For Jesus, healing always involved re-entering community. Jesus has something about healing and coming together with others. Most of the healing stories in the New Testament involve the person who's been healed re-entering communication, community, relationship. When Jesus healed Peter's mother in Matthew 8, and Peter's mother immediately gets up and starts serving the disciples that were there. Lepers were able to rejoin society when they were healed. Children could play with their friends, and families could eat together, and people could return to the temple to worship after they were healed. For Jesus, it's almost as if being whole, being healed, being healthy, being well was not fully possible without some aspect of community. This is something I fear we have missed in our society. Too often, just go at it alone is what succeeds, or what looks like the most successful path, gets the most accolades. Too often, we've equaled success with, I don't need any help. We're all willing to lend a helping hand many times, but struggle to ask for help when we need it because we feel like we're weak if we do. The thing is, we're all being the helper at some point, and we're all needing the help as well. That's the beautiful thing about community. We all need each other. This passage tells us one more thing that I think we should consider. Jesus wants us well. Healing takes work. And unfortunately, even in the best of communities, there will be times when people see the amazing thing. This man can walk after 38 years and still complain about it. Oh, Jesus healed that man on the Sabbath. See the amazing, wonderful works of God and still complain about it because it wasn't done in the way they thought it should be done and the timing they thought that it should have. And it is a sad truth that often people criticize and complain about things out of their own deep need. There are many ways that people are sitting by the pool, sitting on their mat, waiting for someone to come by and do something for them. They're in some way on the mat. Maybe they know what needs to be done. Maybe they know what needs to be done, it's just so hard to do it. Maybe they're still looking for someone to pick them up and take them to the pool like they've seen people do time and time again. When's it my turn? Unfortunately, it is always easier to criticize the way someone else is picking up their mat and walking than it is to pick up your own mat and walk yourself. So let's bring this home. So what about this passage? What does this mean for us? Jesus wants us to be whole, healed people, walking fully upright and alive in life. Not fractured or splintered off in a million directions. Whole people who embrace their identity, who know that they are worthy of love and belonging, and simply because they're alive. It's a process of a lifetime to live whole and free and healed. We never really arrive. It's a lifelong process. Brene Brown calls this living wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. I love that word. It's a lifelong process to face every day knowing that no matter what, you are enough and you are worthy of loving and being loved. Because life is life, though. We get sectioned off, fractured, broken. We get dissected, and we find it hard to live and love with our whole hearts. We find ourselves stuck on the mat. We're waiting by the pool, and we're watching as everyone else gets healed and moves on with life, and we are still sitting on the mat. So I want to invite us to think about a few questions. Do you want to be well? Do you want to be well? Because it's worth the work to get off the mat. Are there ways that you know that you've been dissected, fractured off, splintered, broken, and you need to start the slow, long process of healing, being put back together as a whole person? Well, that's Jesus' favorite place to be. Do you believe that you're worthy of love and belonging, of being whole and healthy? Not worthy if I do this, or worthy once I do this, or worthy when this happens, but worthy, period. Friends, that mat, 38 years of that mat may be familiar. It probably is, but it is not our best life. And Jesus wants whole, healing wellness for each one of us. May we have the courage, the bravery, the trust in Jesus and ourselves to listen and obey when Jesus tells us, pick up your mat and walk. May it be so. Thanks, friends.
Madison Avenue Baptist Church is located at 31st and Madison Avenue in New York City. Our website is www.mabcnyc.org.